Oh shit, I think I just skipped that. I don't actually know what I'm up to.
Hey, it's me.
Hey guys, it's Elise. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I'm currently wearing my blue light glasses because I was just working on an assignment, and then I just had this random idea to film the like mid-year book tag that everyone was doing, obviously in like June, July. And yes, it is currently September. Yes, I am filming this video, but I thought it'd be fun. I just wanted to film a video about books because I haven't filmed many videos and I haven't filmed many videos about books in the last month. So let's just get started. There will be a couple of repeats because honestly for some of these I was just like this one, this one, this one, this one, and they're currently all lying over here. So anyway, let's just get started. A book you tell people is your favorite, which there are a few. There are 3 here. These are the ones I could remember. Like these are my ones that I think about continuously, and like these are like, also there is a question in here like recommendations, but like these are like all 5-star books for me, so obviously I'd recommend them. So you know, a lot of these books I would probably recommend to people, so you know, just keep that in mind throughout this video. But the first one is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, and when I'm filming this video the 3rd book in the series just came out like 2 days ago. It's currently September 7th if you couldn't put 2 and 2 together, but I haven't read that yet. But I loved this book. 5 stars. I don't know if it's still 5 stars on my Goodreads, but at the time rated it 5 stars. Also rated the second book 5 stars, which is also another book at some point in this video, which you'll see. But loved this book. Love Naomi and Knox. Love Waylay. Just love every single character in this book. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since I read it back in March. I think I read it in March. I just love this. Another book that is one of my favorites is the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. Literally the entire series. Same as the Things We Never Got Over series, the Knock 'Em Out series. A Good Girls Guide to Murder series, top. It's like a 5-star series. Both of these series so far, 5 stars. And I love this. Love Pip and Ravi. Love being like able to see all the clues and stuff as you're going through the story. Like you literally get every single bit of evidence that Pip finds throughout the book, and you get to see it and see all of her like transcripts and everything. And I just love it so much. Like I wish I could read the series again for the first time, because oh my god, I literally finished the series I think like a month ago, and I am so sad about it. Like I wish I could reread the series again for the first time. And then finally we have Twisted Games by Anna Huang, which is the second book in the Twisted series. So far I've read 3 out of the 4 books, and this is the only one I've given 5 stars. I love this book, but I think it's because like it kind of heals like that little inner child of yourself. Like if you were a Disney girl who loved the princesses and loved the true love and all of that stuff, I feel like this book would be really good for you, because like the main character, Bridget, she's a princess of this fictional country called Eldora, and her brother is the first in line for the throne, or second in line. I don't know how royal things work, but he's the heir, and then he abdicates because you can't marry a commoner. Wait, what was I saying? Basically, if you're a royal, you cannot marry a commoner. He wants to marry a commoner, so he abdicates the throne. So then Bridget, who's also in love with a commoner, aka her bodyguard, she's in love with him, but obviously can't be with him because she's the heir to the throne now. And I love this book. I want to reread this one as well. Like any book that is 5 stars for me, I wish I could reread it for the first time. Especially these 3. These 3 top 3 books of all time. The next one is a book that is your guilty pleasure. Again, the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. Basically, I've put them all out on my bed so I don't forget which ones I put down. And I've just been putting the Good Girls Guide to Murder series and so many answers for these questions. But literally obsessed with this series. It is the series for me. Like this was the series that got me out of romance. I had not read a single book that wasn't romance before this series, and I'm so thankful for it. Love it to death. Literally best series on planet Earth. Literally like next is a book everyone loved but you didn't. And there's a lot of books that I could put down for this, but number one I could think of was Beach Read by Emily Henry. This one I read end of last year, and I gave it, I think, 3 or 4 stars. 3 stars? I think it was 3 stars. Because I wouldn't have given it 4 stars. So I think it was 3 stars. And I think it's because I went into it thinking it was mainly a romance. And at this point, I was only, like, reading romance. I hadn't explored out of it. This was probably, like, the 6th book I'd read since, like, maybe when I was 13, when I was reading the Twilight books. And even the Twilight books took me forever. But this was really early on in me reading, and I only wanted to read romance at this point. Go into this book realizing that it is mainly literary fiction with a subplot of romance. Like, the romance is kind of there, but it's not as in depth as like a lot of the actual romance books. The next one is a book you read the fastest. I can say most books I read the fastest were probably Colleen Hoover in the very early days of me reading, which was like, I read most of her books and now I wouldn't read them. But also at that point I had all the time in the world. It was exam season, end of me being in high school, literally had all the time in the world to read. And so I feel like that might have had a bit to do with it. But a series that I've literally read the fastest since being bigger into reading was the Inheritance Games series. I've read the first and second book in a week. So I just recently read this like a week or 2 ago. Obsessed with it. 5 stars. Loved every second of it. I literally got to the end of this book and I had to read the second one. I could not do that. And so I read the second one as well, but we'll get to that at a later point. But I'm obsessed with this. You follow Avery, who inherits like a whole bunch of money, literally this whole guy's fortune, who and his whole family thought that they were going to get it and they didn't. They got like little bits and pieces. And so you're trying to discover why she got the inheritance. Honestly, cannot remember why. Honestly, cannot. But you're discovering why she got this inheritance, and then you find out all these family secrets along the way. And it's so good. I don't think I put this down in any of the time like I had, you know, like every single moment I wasn't in course or like working, I was reading this book. It's so good. A book that deserves more hype. And I read this book again very early on into my reading. I don't know if I would still rate this a 4 star. I would probably give it a 4 point, like I think at the time I gave it like 4.5, but at that point I only did like the 4s. But this was pretty good, was so close to being a 5 star, and that was Back to You by Tammy Robinson. I loved this book. This was the first book I read that wasn't Colleen Hoover, and I loved it. I did originally only pick this up because my ex-boyfriend's name is on it, and at the time we were dating, and that's the only reason I actually read this book. But it is so good. I can't really remember what it's about, but I think the main character Zoe and him, I don't actually know how they met, but she suffers an injury and pretty much completely cuts him off because she's like, he won't love me because I have this injury. And then they fall in love because it's a romance, so you know. But like, he had to go to Africa or something. I honestly cannot remember. This was like a year ago that I read this book. So we're like forgetting things a little bit. A book that is becoming a TV show or movie. And I'm pretty sure this one is. And it's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Again, this was a 5-star book. I can tell you everything. I haven't really thought about it since I read it, so I'd probably drop it now like to like 4.5. But this was so good when I read it back in January. I loved it. And I just loved seeing all of her different husbands, and then also getting like the current timeline of like Monique, the current timeline of Monique, like doing the interviews and everything. And I loved getting my favorite part was definitely the past timelines, when you're seeing Evelyn Hugo's past life and seeing her go through all of her husbands, and it's so good. This is the only if you didn't know, it's also kind of a spoiler, so if you don't want to spoil it, just kind of skip ahead a little bit. But it's a woman love woman book, and I didn't know that going in. Like, I'd heard rumors about it, but I kind of didn't really process it was a woman love woman book. But I loved it, and I don't like, it's the only gay romance that I've ever read. But I think I should read more, because honestly, I loved this. A book from a genre you don't typically read. And I do read, like, I read I read romance, mystery, and fantasy. But out of every book on my shelf, the series, like, what the fuck am I saying? The genre I've read the least is fantasy. So I would say Fourth Wing is definitely out of the genre I don't really typically read. And this was also a 5-star read. It took me about a month to read, but it is so thick. And I'm so excited for the second one to come out, but I really need to stop buying books. So it's becoming a problem. I'm like a little bit broke and I should not be spending money on books. But this was so good. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. And I honestly was not even going to buy this book when I bought it. But a girl in the warehouse when I was buying it was the King's birthday weekend sales. And this girl, I was talking to my friend about this book and I was like, it's a mix of The Hunger Games, Divergent, How to Train Your Dragon, like all these different shows and movies and stuff. And then this girl behind me was like, yes, it's so good, you should read it. So I bought it and I love it. A book that deserves all the hype. Since the first book is currently very low in the pile of books I've already talked about in this video, we're just gonna use the second one. So that is The Things We Never Got Over, the Knock 'Em Out trilogy. What am I saying? A book that deserves all the hype is definitely the Knock 'Em Out trilogy. All books for me so far have been 5 stars, and I've read 2 out of the 3, as I already said earlier in this video. This one specifically follows Lena and Nash is Knox from the first book's brother, and Nash is also a cop, so he's like the good boy, like the good brother, and Nash was like the bad brother. And then Lena is the typical bad girl. She's like, you know, I don't know. She's also Knox's ex, which is kind of a little bit weird, but like also I'm from a small town, so I kind of understand how that works. But anyway, I love this series. Completely deserves the hype that it gets, and I love every second of it. The next one is a book you usually recommend when get asked to give a recommendation. And again, I've already talked about this series so many times in this video, so we have the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series again. As I said, the other books are very deep in that pile of books I've already talked about, so we're just gonna use the third book. Again, 5-star series, recommend it to everyone. It is so, like, if you don't normally read, I feel like this is a good series to start with. Personally, I didn't start with it, but like I feel like I would recommend this to, like, my friend Maddie, she said she doesn't really read, and then I was like, if you do start reading though, start with the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, because she's into kind of like books that, or like just series that kind of like grab you in and draw you in from like the first episode. And I was like, this keeps drawing you back in, like you never want to stop. A book that has your favorite characters. I'm gonna do a book series because again, a book that has my favorite characters in it is currently at the very bottom of that pile, and that is the Twisted series. The Twisted series, love every single one of the female characters. Some of the guy characters I'm like, you could be better. But I love Ava, I love Bridget, I love Jules, and I love Stella. I love their like little friendship. Oh my god, love them so much. And also Ava and her brother Josh's relationship is so cute. I love it. Like, he's the protective older brother and she's like that defiant younger sibling. A book you wish you could live in. Knock 'Em Out, Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Twisted series. Or also The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. But I'm like such a historical girl. Like I grew up, well not really grew up, but like from the age of 10, I've been watching historical shows obsessively. Like they are my thing. Love them. I'm a history girly. So this was my piece, like it was like, this was it for me when I read it, because it's obviously set in the past, so I loved every second of it. A book you thought you would hate but ended up loving. Carrie Said It Was Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid has been a very hit or miss author for me. I loved 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Loved, but not to the same extent, Daisy Jones and the Six. I DNF'd that originally and then got back into it when I was watching the show. So I think that's what made me love it more, is watching the show while reading the book. One True Loves was a bit hit or miss, and then Malibu Rising, didn't like it. So I was really scared going into this, thought I would hate it because honestly it's about tennis, have no idea anything about tennis. So me going into this book was super scared, but I read this in 3 days and I gave it 5 stars, and I loved this book. I ate it up. So if you're scared to go into this book because you don't know anything about tennis or you haven't had a good experience with Taylor Jenkins read it because it is so good. A book that made you cry. I don't really cry during books, so this is like the one that made me the most sad. Like, I actually have not cried during a book before, but I would say Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, because Archer is so sweet that I like, if I were to cry in a book, this would have been the book. Because Archer like just goes through so much through this book, and even before the events of the book, he just goes through so much, and I feel so bad for him. But I also love his romance between him and Brie, because they become friends and then they build that like little relationship. It's so cute. A book you wish you could read for the first time. We are getting to like the slim, like this is the last book in the series that I can use as a book holder, and that is the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. So we're using Killjoy, which is the little novella. But yeah. And then a book that cured your reading slump, because we're going to come back to this, I promise you, was the Inheritance Game series. Cured my reading slump. I was kind of feeling myself getting into one, and then I read this and I was like, whew. So yeah. And then a book you think everyone needs to read, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. A book you think would make an amazing series or movie. Which one did I think that was? Probably Inheritance Game series. I don't know if this is becoming one. I also know the Good Girls Guide to Murder series is becoming a series. I'm super excited. So these two, but also I think any mystery book would become a good series because you're just like on the edge of your seat the entire time. A book you wish everyone would give a shot, even if it's out of their comfort zone. Good Girls Guide to Murder, The Inheritance Games, the Knock 'Em Out trilogy, the Twisted series. You need to read it, at least to book 2. If you make it to Twisted Games and you hate Twisted Games, you can stop. But you need to read up to book 2. And then a book you will never forget. The Knock 'Em Out series. The Good Girls Guide to Murder series. And the Twisted series. Anyway. It got to the end there where I was just kind of speed running because the answers were all the same. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys all in the next one.